So we are back with part 2 of relationships with romantic partners. So let's dive deep into romantic attraction. Why are we attracted to some people and not others? Well, there's a few different factors that contribute to this. First is proximity. So proximity refers to how close you are to someone physically. So frequently being in another person's presence over an extended period of time is going to increase the likelihood that you are romantically attracted to that other person. This is known as mere exposure effect. Even think about the people that you are near the most physically, whether it be your friends, family, coworkers. You probably feel closer to them emotionally and have a stronger connection just because of the fact that you are around them more consistently. The same thing happens in our romantic relationships. We're more likely to become attracted to someone who we are interacting with more. Then there's physical attractiveness. Now, this first effect, beautiful is good effect, is one that's been studied in many, many different research projects and scenarios and cases. Traditionally, people who are viewed as more attractive are viewed in a better light than those who are viewed as less attractive. Now, what is consistent in one culture is not going to be consistent for another culture. So, if you are physically attractive with one trait in one culture, that may not carry over. So keep that in mind. I had one student who felt as though he was not attractive, and so therefore it was something that affected his self-esteem. Then there's matching. So this is a tendency for us to form long-term relationships with people who we feel are similar in physical attractiveness to us. This is commonly referred to as you can only date people within a certain number of you. So if you are an attractive number 7, then you can only date people who are within 2 points. So either they're a 5 or a 9, but you can't go too far outside of that range. While that is a sometimes harsh way to view physical attractiveness of a human being, it is something that we colloquially mention and talk about. People tend not to want to date people who they think are below them or too far above them in looks. Now, that's again just a tendency, not always the truth. Then there's similarity. Be mindful of the fact that when people say opposites attract, that's not exactly true. We tend to want people who are more like us as opposed to very, very different. This is known as the birds of a feather effect. We tend to even find our friend groups, the people who we're close to in our families, as people who are more like us. We tend to find these similar people based on uncertainty reduction. The more likely that they are to do something that we would do, then we have less fear of the novelty, the unpredictable capabilities that they have. And we as human beings like to reduce uncertainty. Now, this does not mean that we want exact copies of ourselves either. We like people who complement us. Complement as in COMPLEMENT. Keep in mind I said complement with an E and not complement with an I. So this complement is in complementary, that they complete some aspect of us. So maybe you are kind of shy and kind of quiet and you want somebody who's more outgoing, or you need someone to balance your impulsive nature, and so you like the fact that they think things through. So as far as opposites attract, not really. We like similarity, but we do like the person who can be complementary as well. Then there's reciprocal liking. So mutual attraction is always going to be the basis of any relationship. Remember, like I said before, romantic relationships start with perception. If you like that person and they like you, and you both feel like you're in a romantic relationship, then you are in a romantic relationship. But if only one person feels like they're in a romantic relationship, then it's not a true romantic relationship. Therefore, when it comes to liking someone, we actually are more attracted to someone when we think that they are attracted to us back. Then there are resources. So what somebody offers you, including what leads you to find them desirable, may come in the form of resources. And this does not just necessarily mean material goods. It can be other forms of resources as well. If you remember from our chapter on power, we talked about different power currencies. That there is a social network power currency. That there is a intimacy power currency. So again, what can they do for you is influencing how you perceive them and their attractiveness. Now this helps us think about social exchange theory. Keep in mind, this is going to sound a little terrible at first, but hear me out. So we tend to stay in relationships that we find beneficial for us, that we get something out of it, that we find it rewarding. Relationships that are too detrimental, that are too costly, we tend to leave them. Now I've had students say, well, I don't just go in and try to figure out how much this person is going to cost me. It's very little to do with financial cost. It has more so to do with what are we getting out of it. So the person that you are romantically attracted to, who stresses you out and who forces you to be a person that you don't even want to be, is a costly person in your life. And you're going to probably leave them over time. Unless there's something that's beneficial about them being in your life. Maybe they are able to do chores. Maybe they are able to bring you happiness when you're very sad. There's something beneficial. Usually the more benefit that we have in a relationship, we're going to stay in that relationship. This also makes us think about equity. So there's going to be some perceived rewards. But if we feel that the relationship is imbalanced, that there's a lack of equity, then we're also going to start questioning, should we stay in a relationship? So you may be getting a lot out of it, but if you feel as though you're cheating the other person by not giving them what they need in return, you may feel like the relationship is not worth it. And then there's technology. Technology is a huge factor in romantic attraction, especially nowadays, and the rise of social media and the rise of dating websites. Keep in mind that technology is going to help people market themselves as the best possible versions of themselves to potential partners. However, people can distort who they are online, whether it be through the descriptions that they use or even the pictures that they include. This is commonly going to be known as catfishing, where you put a misleading picture up to make someone think that you're a completely different version of yourself, maybe your best self, or even a completely different person. But as we know from popular TV shows or even just stories we've heard in the news, these distortions of online self-descriptions are always going to be self-defeating. Very, very few times have I heard people try to make a relationship work when one person catfished the other. It's happened, but it's very unlikely. Thinking about attraction leads us to Knapp's stages of relationship development and deterioration. Now, Knapp was a researcher who wanted to see what do people tend to go through in forming relationships and as they fall apart in relationships. I have a separate video detailing all 10 stages of Knapp's stages of relationship development and deterioration. So I'm going to save that for the other video. But no matter where you are in your relationship development or even deterioration, it's important to think about, well, how can I maintain my romantic relationships? Some of the maintenance strategies that I include here seem like very common knowledge, but as I've always learned in teaching and in just living my life, sometimes the common knowledge things that we know we should do aren't the things that we actually do. So let's go into depth here. So when it comes to maintaining your relationship, one of the first aspects that you can use is positivity. Yes, positivity, very simple as I just said it. This may include being cheerful and optimistic, doing things for your partner or partners just because you know it's going to bring a smile to their face. Even the language that you use can help bring happiness to the other person. Then there's assurances. No matter what type of relationship you have or how long you've been in that relationship, we all want to feel comfortable and know that the other person values us. Therefore, an assurance such as, I love you, or I can't see myself ever being with anyone but you, is going to help us feel even more committed. It's going to remind us that this person is really here for the long haul. Then there's sharing tasks. This can be everything from taking out the trash to cleaning the house or getting the car maintained. These small things, these tasks, remind the other person that we are dividing the labor equally and that we do care about the other person and their responsibilities that they have in their own life. And then lastly, we have acceptance. In any romantic relationship, we want people to see us for who we really are and to accept that person for who we really are. So it's important that we remind the other person in our relationship that we do accept them. Whether that means forgiving our partner or partners when we make a mistake or when they make a mistake, supporting them through tough decisions, or even just being patient. Keep in mind that when you do not engage in these maintenance strategies, how those can undermine the relationship. It can make you think, or make your partner think, that the other person doesn't really care. Another thing to consider as far as maintenance strategies is self-disclosure. Now, we've talked about self-disclosure in previous chapters before, so I won't go into too much depth here. But remember that as you share more about who you are in your personal life, whether it be the small things, your goals, your feelings, to even the bigger things such as your fears and vulnerabilities, that's going to increase the intimacy that you feel with your partner. Also engage in relationship talks. So this is going to be the check-in. How's this relationship going? How do you feel? Where is this relationship going to be in 5 years? In 10 years? So having some talks about your future relationship goals and relationship plans is going to be reassuring and encourage your other partner to open up as well. And then also think about your social networks. No matter who you are, you want your friends, your family, the people in your social network to also value your partner or partners, and vice versa. So when you have supportive social networks, this can effectively help you maintain your relationship. So definitely be mindful of who is in your social network and what are they bringing in to your relationship. Are they bringing positivity or are they bringing negativity? Again, as we think about maintaining romance, we also need to think about how do we do that in a long-distance relationship. You've probably heard a lot of times that long-distance relationships are some of the most difficult types of relationships to actually maintain. Part of that is because in long-distance relationships, couples tend to focus in on the positive, which we all think, great, why wouldn't we want to focus in on the positive? But remember, it's also important to have relationships talks. Where is this relationship actually going? Are we both happy? And because you're so focused on the positive aspects, when you are actually reunited, it may lead to a breakup when you notice that there are some negative qualities that you did not notice before that now you can't help but see that you're close up to the other person. So as you're going through your relationships, you need to decide whether you should maintain or not maintain. Ask yourself, how likely am I in love with this person? To which degree? Even am I in like with this person? Is there equity in this relationship? Or, as a couple, is there an imbalance in power between both partners? Are we similar? Are our opposite characteristics so opposite that they're hurting us? And then think about, do we have a social network that is supportive of us? If not, then it may be mindful to start thinking about whether you should actually maintain the relationship. Now we know not all relationships are going to be positive, and some need to end. So in the next video, we're going to talk about the dark side of romantic relationships.